going on, Brian?
Hey, Chad, how are you today?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be under the water.
Under the water tower. That's a competing
Don't
podcast.
don't be giving them any credit now. Don't be giving them any credit.
Well, we are here. I'm Brian Couch, and you are Chad Wicker, and this is the Roundabout Roundup.
I think it was episode 8, 9, 10, somewhere there.
Doing the roundup for the July 21st Board of Alderman
my
meeting.
understanding, I think we got to give a shout out to one of our listeners here. He said that, where's the podcast at? Do you want to know where it was?
Yeah, I got a text already today when I was like, man, give us time. The meeting was just last night. So, but no. Pretty long meeting last night. Not a ton of stuff on it, but
as we talked about last time, Brian, I think we were at the MML conference, and so the agenda was a little light on the last meeting. So I think we made up for it here. It was it was like 4 pages worth of agenda items. So, and I understand there was some audio issues. It's the same company that's working on our system here.
Yeah, we got a little feedback in ours, but at least you can hear us. You could not hear the mic. Like I said, at the very end of the meeting, the mic kicked on at the podium, but before that, you couldn't hear anything being said at the podium.
One of Couch's dogs chewed on one of our wires here.
Yeah, probably so. That'd be the least of our problems. So, but before we get real started, we've had a little news since our last podcast. Our Austin Cardozi is turned in his resignation to the city, and if you don't know who that is, he is the city planner.
Yeah, he had a pretty big part in the meeting last night, but yes. Austin has decided to go work for DeSoto County, I think, in some kind of administrative role, not really in a planning position, which is great. Great for him. I think it's a great, a good thing for the county. He's been nothing but great for Hernando.
Tough loss for Hernando.
I'm a big fan of Austin, and I wish him the best. And as he told me when I congratulated him, he said he's always going to be Team Hernando. So that's great to have an ally at the county. Most time we're in agreement, but sometimes we do have different positions on things. So it'd be great to have somebody who's worked at Hernando and understands some of our issues.
I did have one of the county supervisors tell me that Hernando stole Austin and they're stealing him back.
It's a funny story. From my understanding, I got elected in 2021, but I think they had tried to get Austin back in like 2019 and 2020. I think when Tom Ferguson was the mayor, and they offered him the money. And I think that I don't know this to be true, but this is what I was told, that the county went and gave him a raise to keep him, and then so he stayed there for another year or so, and then we were able to get him, I think around 2021, 2022 time frame. So
gotcha. Well, he's been good for the city of Hernando. I've heard nothing but positives, from different developers and people around the community. He's really worked hard for the city. So.
Yeah, and we did our comprehensive plan. He was a big part of that, and we've got a lot of projects in movement. Delta Landing, obviously, we approved. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we approved several developments or several build-outs there of that development. So
well, Alderman Miller was not there last night, but really didn't miss much in the sense that I think every vote was unanimous last night at the meeting. I don't think there was any dissenting votes.
I didn't think about that, Brian. You may be correct. We had some good discussion on a few things, but I think you may be correct.
Well, he started off after the consent agenda and all that. It was I think it was supposed to have been the Chief Ellis was supposed to talk. That was about some radios that he wanted to lease, and it was actually Robert Scott there. I guess Chief Ellis had somewhere he had to be last night, but Robert Scott was there and really just discussing new leases on radios. And the only thing that was brought up on that discussion was Kid asked why we were lease purchasing over 3 years and not buying them, but that was the only discussion on that, and that passed unanimously. Nothing real spectacular there. And then y'all talked about the election commission is moving out of which building were they occupying?
Yeah, so if anybody knows where like the city court is, there's another room in the Gale Center there. They've rented that building probably since they renovated the Gale Center. They've been there, and there's been we've actually asked them to leave several times, or we want that space to expand our court, and so I think they recently, as the mayor said, they recently purchased the old Trustmark Bank building, and they're going to move the election commission over there. And so we'll be expanding our court at some point into that. Give it some more room.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that will give us room to lose a little bit of revenue. Though.
Yeah, I think the mayor.
Yeah,
the mayor mentioned what they pay a year to lease that space, and I think they actually have their election commission meetings in there. I think I'm not sure, but I think they do.
Well, and before we get really into the meeting, I want to jump to the end of the meeting because I had to rewind when I heard something last night. Near the end of the meeting, kind of glossed over this, but tell me where I'm wrong. We did not pay a DCRUA bill, apparently. And I was like, wow, after the last 6 months, how do we not have like bells ringing in the office that the DCRUA bill is due?
Well, I can't answer what exactly took place, but I noticed I review the docket of claims usually on Monday or Tuesday before the meeting, and I noticed that there was no invoice or no payment to DCRUA, so, and I know we didn't do one last docket of claims, so I emailed the city clerk, and she said, oh, man, we hadn't got a bill. And so I think she reached out to DCRUA, and they got it taken care of, and we had to add it to the agenda, so.
Well, I had to rewind. I was like, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And it was like, after everything we've been through, how did we miss a DCRUA bill?
Again, Brian, I'm sure they have a lot of things going on there, and he actually put a copy of the invoice in our packet. It looks like it's attention to Pam Powell, who's no longer with us, so that maybe have something to do with
Right.
it. But
well, I just found that funny. So
going forward, I don't think that's going to be.
I figured Chip had alarms going off on his computer. Hey, pay
may,
DCRUA.
He may, but hey, if you don't get a bill, you don't get a bill. So we got it worked out, and again, I think we're staying very, very current on those, and it's a big expense. I mean, just so people understand, I know there were some upset people when we raised the rates, but this is $308,000 a month is what we paid to DCRUA. And that's just a pass through from what we
Right.
charge the citizens. So.
Well, while we're talking about that, about tax rates, one of the things y'all talked about last night was sending out property tax notices, and there's no change in the rate, but we are getting an increase.
Yeah, so I'll go over that. I'll go over that with you. So every year the tax assessor, which is Jim Fitt, he's been on Jeff. I'm sorry, he's been on podcast with us before. At least me and Ben were doing it. And so every July 1st, he has to turn in the assessed value for each city. And this year, our assessed value increased by, I think, 5.2%. It went from $188,611,808 to $197,446,947,000.
So what does that mean to the public as far as what we're going to see as a tax increase?
So that means that your house went up 5%. Across the city, we saw a 5% increase in property assessed value. So your assessed value went up.
So I'm going to pay more this year than I did last year, and it went up about $1,000. Mine went up about $1,000 last year.
Well, it depends. Some of that increase, it may be that we've replatted some commercial property that was once agricultural or things like that. So it may not necessarily mean your property bill is going to go up.
Okay.
Actually, let me go back up. Your property bill is not going to go up. This is not a reassessed year, so you're going to be the same as last year. I'm sorry, I got a little off track there. So all that increase is just new buildings being built.
Okay,
things like
so
that.
my bill's not going to change.
No, the personal property tax.
Okay, so you heard it here. Your bill's not going to change from the city.
And we're not. I don't think there's it didn't seem like anybody was going to suggest raising the millage rate last night. So our millage rate is most likely going to stay the same at 35.7654, which I think is the second lowest behind Olive Branch in the county.
Well, I heard that get brought up last night, so I wanted you to clarify that, whether or not we were getting an increase or not.
And so that translates to a total. If you include the car tags and personal property, public utilities that we get, it's about $253 million in excess value across the city, which in turn, if you count all the millage, it's $8.6 million we're going to receive in taxes.
Gotcha. And we've already spent that, I'm sure. It's already gone.
I don't know about that.
Well, I didn't. Now, the next thing on the agenda was the Madison Lakes water plant coming online, and Joe Frank talked about that. But again, the podium mic wasn't working, so I couldn't hear what he said about that. But I'm assuming that's fixing to go online.
This project has been in the works for quite some time. We used a lot of our ARPA money to get it prepared. So if you know right on Byhalia Road there, where you've seen the new tower, Tallulah Redding used to own a lot of that property over there. They've built a little brick building there.
Right.
That's the water plant. Then we're going to connect that to the. There's going to be an elevated tower where Madison Lakes development is going to go.
Yeah, it's right there at Getwell and Byhalia Road.
Yeah, and so we're going to connect those two together. That will give us the ability to service. I think Ben Piper asked a question about servicing.
He asked if the water pressure was going to be better.
That's where you're going to get your water from, where you live. So that's going to increase the pressure and also give us the ability to do fire protection and things north of there, which should help with development of Madison Lakes in the area north of there.
Well, and of course, the first thing going in Madison Lakes is already in the works, and with the McDonald's. So if that happens, hopefully it'll bring
I
some
heard
more
there was going to be a Mexican McDonald's.
Mexican McDonald's. Okay, well, there's some taco burritos.
That's right.
So, but no, so that's going in. Then one of the things that was kind of, and it was added, so this is the fourth meeting in a row we've added a few things.
Yeah, we like to, man, nothing wrong with a little addition.
Well, we were talking about Natalie Lynch added something, wanted a paving project update, and she did not seem real happy with Lehman Roberts, who is the current contractor that's been working on some of the streets. You want to go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's no secret. I mean, there's been some social media posts and some people just talk around town about the time frame of how long it's taken to do the paving across the city. And one thing I want to probably preference is it's like $2.8 million worth of paving we did this time, and also these are all high traffic roads that we did: Oak Grove, Mount Pleasant, right there in front of like United Methodist Church, that
Robinson,
Robinson, McCracken. Just several of these roads are busy roads, and so people are seeing that more. But it really didn't get a good explanation of why it's taking so long. It sounds like maybe Lehman Roberts kind of overbid.
Sounds like they may be losing their job from what Natalie Lynch and Ben Piper were saying last night. They're ready to move on to another company.
Well, so we bid that out hey, here's 2.8 million, or here's the roads we want paved, and we put that out to bid.
And they were 300,000 the lowest.
They came
bid.
in, so it sounds to me like what they're doing is undershooting everybody and maybe don't have the manpower to, because they're also paving for, I think, South Haven, Olive Branch, Tunica, I think DeSoto County, and so they just have a lot of work going on.
Well, and Joe Frank Lauderdale was still at the mic at this point, but again, the mic wasn't working. But I did catch him say at one point, it sounded like he said that he thinks they pulled off of us and went to Grenada to do some work down there.
Yeah, he said that I guess, and I'm ignorant to this, but I believe there's asphalt plants all across different areas, and the asphalt plant up here ran out of asphalt, and so they couldn't do anything else that day, so they went down to Grenada, I guess, and got asphalt from a different plant. And because I think, Brian, I may be wrong, and people may be calling me an idiot, but I believe the asphalt's kind of like concrete. It can only sit in the truck for so long before it starts getting hard, so you got to put it down. And so I think that's what happened.
Well, and Ben and Natalie were both also talking about striping the streets, but especially like around the schools, because school starts in a week and a half.
Yeah, and Ben he's been real upset with some of the quality of the work. I know he had mentioned some streets. I can't remember where he said last night, but some I think maybe over here somewhere where the quality of the paving was what he did.
I think he was talking about Keeneland.
Oh, Keeneland, okay.
In Forest Meadows.
Yeah, he had some issues with some of the quality of the paving. And so what I had an issue with, and it was brought up a little bit, is they went in and milled the streets. That's when they strip it down to the bare bone, and then sits there for like a month and a half.
Right, like Mount Pleasant, like Mount Pleasant did right there in front of the school.
And so what I've learned since the meeting last night, talking from another engineer, is that what MDOT does and some other cities do is they have a clause in their agreement that if once you mill it, you have 5 days to pave it, or it's a fine for every day it doesn't get paved.
Right.
And so that's something we're probably going to look at.
Put in contracts.
Because it looks like what they did is a milling crew came up here and did all the milling, and they didn't. The asphalt people were so backed up they couldn't get it asphalt paved over back fast enough. So.
Got to hold them to a higher standard. It's just I've voiced this to you off air. Where my daughter lives over off of Elm Street and Wadsworth Circle, they got all new paving over there. Then we had the water pipe bust, and there's a big hole in the middle of the road that's been just filled with gravel, and they were literally paving 150 yards away and didn't come over there and fix that. And it's been several months, and that hole's still sitting in the newly paved road.
That's right. So that'd be we have a patch crew that goes around and does those types of. There's one on DeSoto Avenue as well where they had a water leak. They had to dig into the new paved concrete or asphalt and redo that. But again, at the end of the day, though, Brian, that's a good problem to have. I mean, there's not many cities doing $2.8 million worth of paving.
Look, I don't think anybody complained about the amount of paving we're doing. We're getting our streets. They look a lot better than they did in the past.
But I think you will see some additions to the contract with our next. Whoever we use, whoever the lowest and best bidder is, and to ensure that we don't have some of the same issues we had last time.
All right. Well, moving on, the next thing, and again, you couldn't hear the mic, and this was something I'm going to let you talk about. there was an appeal on a fence variance, and I think in your ward.
Oh, yeah.
It was in your ward over on Elkwood Lane.
Elkwood and Fawn Cove, I think it's north, makes kind of a circle right there where she was talking about.
Well, we could hear the questions y'all asked because the property owner was there to speak, and you couldn't hear what her reasoning was on the mic for why she needed this variance. And apparently the fence is already partially up, so I feel bad for her.
Yeah, so, and Brian, you're a realtor, so you've probably seen all these different corner lots. In a corner lot, we have a variance on how far your fence has to be away from the road. In a corner lot, you have like a side yard, like you've seen those before. And so she had a fence in her side yard, and where the original fence was actually should have been a variance when it was built. They didn't give her one. Well, she wanted to take a fence that's already non-compliant and put it basically 17 more feet towards the road, I think is what it was.
What was her reasoning for that?
Something about erosion in that particular lot. I know she's kind of in a bowl. She's the first house going back down the hill, so I think she's getting some water. And I think there was something in the packet that she had, because they have to answer the questions in the little packet we get.
Of why you need the
and it was, she was saying that I guess her neighbor has a pool or something, and so when she drains her pool, it goes into her yard or something. But
well, that explains Alderman McClendon's response to her. Because I was like, man, look at Lauren, she's become a landscaping guru because she said, well, I don't think a fence is the best way to fix a drainage issue.
And it's not. And again, it was pretty close to the road. I mean, and it stood out there. And
well, it becomes a safety thing as well.
Yeah, and I think there was because this went before the planning commission, they turned it down. But at the planning commission, I think they had a concern about being able to see the stop signs and stuff like that. So I don't know how accurate that is, but I just you got to be careful when you do those things.
You open up a can of worms.
I have no problem with her building a fence where the original fence was. I don't know. I can't speak to why she wanted it, further out, closer to the sidewalk or whatever. But we turned it down, and
it was unanimous too on the turn down. So again, there was no controversies last night. I feel bad for the homeowner, but you need to do your homework.
Yeah, well, it was kind of funny. So she was wearing scrubs, and the way the thing read, the mayor called her doctor, whatever her last name was, and so I called her doctor, and then I think she kind of made a face, and so I think Chip picked up on it, and I did too. And he said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were a doctor because it said Fawn Drive or whatever." So
well,
we got a little chuckle out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we have a fence in our neighborhood that just went up that's not compliant, and I feel bad for the homeowner, but it doesn't fit what's required in the neighborhood. And if you don't check those things, what's the saying? Stupidity is not or lack of knowledge is not a excuse.
And I think that goes back, if you're going to pay somebody to do it, make sure they're bonded and know what they're doing, because they know they have to go get a permit. They know where it can and can't be. So that's the benefit of having somebody know. And I think she said her son did this one or something. And unfortunately, somebody called and complained on them. They did a stop order, so it's a half a fence built. And I think she was trying. I think that's the other reason she was trying to get it. Go ahead and get a variance for it because it's already half built.
Yeah, well, that makes sense why Lauren was saying that the fence wouldn't help with their drainage problem, though.
Yeah.
So, and then at that point, the mic miraculously started working there.
Well,
so
we had some secret stuff we didn't want you to know about.
Well, it sounds like that because, we couldn't hear what was being said in the meeting because that was actually, me being in real estate, that was something I was interested in hearing the discussion on that and couldn't hear it,
That's when we talked about the blind ordinance.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Hey, look. At least you're getting some people off your back in there. For those of y'all that don't know, I know we're a Hernando podcast, but the city of South Haven did have a 6-1 approval last night that if you have a broken blind or cracked blind or bent blind that faces towards the street, now that is a city violation in the city of South Haven, and you can be citationed for it. So social media has been blowing up with that. A few people that like to be hard on Hernando have jumped ship and gone up. I mean, maybe
you can't make everybody happy.
Maybe y'all ought to call some of those aldermen and thank them for taking the heat off y'all because South Haven's catching it today on social media.
Well, I know one particular I think listens to our podcast, and I haven't read that ordinance, so I'm just making fun. I don't know what it actually says or doesn't say, but so I'm sure it probably is not as strict as what y'all are making it seem like. So.
I think we're probably talking about the same South Haven alderman, and I called him today and said, "Man, can I borrow $300?" And he said, "Is real estate that bad?" I go, "Well, no." I said, "Well, real estate's tough right now," but I said, "I've got a couple of rental houses in South Haven. I need to make sure my blinds are in compliance." So he didn't find my joke very funny.
But people are going to find something to complain about, and again, if that's the worst thing they got going on up there, they're doing pretty good. So.
Yeah. So, Well, and then the next thing on the agenda, Austin, who is now going to be leaving us in about a month, but he was talking about y'all discussed the downtown design overlay, which I found interesting. And at this point, the mic was working well enough that you could hear what Austin was saying and talking about taking in, I guess, some more area into the downtown area. Maybe, I'm guessing, kind of over there in Northwood Hills area.
Yeah, so this is something we've been discussing in the ordinance committee for, I guess, probably 6-7 months. And it is a plan to basically, if you're familiar with the historic district, it kind of mirrors that to an extent. It's a little larger than that.
Yeah.
But
And he said it was mainly geared towards commercial.
yeah, like for example, there's the open lot at what is that, 51 in Commerce there that's been vacant. I think it used to be a hotel or something years ago, whatever, burned down. Across from a funeral home in the gas station. So when they when they build there, with this new regulation, they don't have to worry about parking. They can be right up on the road, which is what you want for your downtown area.
Actually, it requires them to be on the road.
Yeah, it requires them to be within. I think it's 5 feet from the easement, or 10 feet if you put a patio. I think is what we decided. Just got to be at least 2 stories high. So what we're trying to do, I think, is capture that kind of small time character, that downtown character. Of that development.
Well, and Chip even made the comment that back under Bob Barber, when the administration building was built right there at the courthouse with the nice fountain out front that never works, by the way. But
that's a county project now.
But that building originally had the parking lot right there, and the building pushed back, and Bob Barber saw the vision of moving the building up and the parking to the rear, and that's an absolute beautiful building right there on our square now. He brought up that one. And he also brought up the addition to the library back in the day, where Bob Barber talked him into moving it closer to the street just did away with that parking out front. And that is a good look for a downtown area.
Yeah, well, like for example, the Dunkin' Donuts, when it went in there, it had to kind of change its plan to fit the regulations. If we'd have had this plan in place, it probably would have looked a little different.
Okay, but my one of the questions I had is Austin said if a building gets destroyed by 50%, it must become part of that compliance going forward when it's rebuilt. So, like where my office is, my grandmother's old house right there at the corner of 51 and Robinson, and obviously not set on the road, huge trees in front, looks good. If something happened to that building or house, it used to be a house, now it's a building, it would have to be built 5 feet from the road now?
Well, what is this? I know you had a big fight for the zoning about 20 years ago. So
it's C4.
Okay, so it's commercial. So if something ever happens to 50% of that building, they tear it down or it catches on fire, you can always ask for a variance, right? Okay. But if you want to follow the rules and not ask for a variance, you're right. It's going to have to be within 5-10 feet from the road.
And I'm just using that as an example because
you won't have to have the parking requirement that you had to have initially.
Yeah, but where that is, it wouldn't look, I agree, like around the square and things, that looks aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. Well, and that place used to be a house. I mean,
yeah.
that's your grandparents' house. So, I mean, that's why it looks a little different. But, like, for example, if something ever happens to Huntington Bank now, right? They decide they don't need banks, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, we don't need banks like we do. And they want to develop a restaurant or something there. They can move up to the front of the street, have all that back area to do different things, which they would probably split that off in probably different plats. But
gotcha.
But you could have a more aesthetic pleasing building. Same thing with like where the hardware store is, or where the post office is, the shopping center.
Well, the post office is exempt. That was discussed last night. Is the post office would be exempt from these rules because that's federal.
And I guess we hadn't really talked about that, but they did a renovation there, and the bricks kind of do not match the original building. And when they were building that up, and they showed Austin the samples of what they're going to do, he said, "No, that doesn't match. You got to do this." And they said basically shot him a middle finger and said, "We're the federal government. We can do what we want to," which. I'm not an attorney, but that property is not owned.
Correct.
He leases that property to the Postal Service.
Right.
And so I don't know how that works, but they got away with it. That's why it looks a little different.
Well, he did say last night it would be exempt from having to be rebuilt up by the road if something ever happened.
But this is like I think I call it the Communicare building, but it's the old glass building. I think it used to be a car dealership years ago. What's the road just south of the square there? by the right next to the water tower.
Yeah.
They tore that building down. That's the Flynn's who owned the Velvet Cream and the Dip or whatever. They own that property. I think that's going to be one of our first buildings, I think, built under this new guideline, because I think they're pretty close to doing some development
Now,
there.
will Austin I know he's bringing back for y'all to approve at the next meeting, like he was going to put together a more comprehensive, so that'll be something he finishes before he is gone. And
My understanding is he's leaving sometime around the middle of August, so I don't know. He'll probably have one meeting left, so we'll see if he gets it done or not. But if not, I mean, he's just right across the street there, so we can go find him if we need to.
got you. I thought that might be something need to get finalized before we have a vacancy in that position. So,
and we're actively seeking applicants. If anybody knows anybody who's a planner looking to relocate to Hernando, great opportunity. It's I think a good paying job. So
just got to deal with the board.
I think the board's not the problem.
That was a joke.
Haha.
So, but no, that was basically, I mean, like I said, there wasn't anything on the meeting this week that was controversial. Unanimous votes across the board. Y'all renewed your health insurance.
Yeah, it's going up a little bit. Which I think, from what, Bruce is the insurance guru on our board, and that's what he does for a living. He said we're getting a pretty good, I think there's across the nation there's an increase, because I think just inflation goes up, so obviously healthcare costs go up. And I think our employees are going to see about if you count everything, maybe a $50 a month increase, so $25 a paycheck increase for insurance.
Gotcha. Okay. And then there was a payment, a GCU payment for $166,000 that went along with something y'all added to the agenda there at the end. What was that?
Yeah, so we for one of the first ARPA projects we did, Brian, was a downtown sewer where we smoked you may have saw that we smoked the sewers and looked for leaks and try to fill. This ties into the DCRUA issue. Like a lot of the original downtown area, it has the old clay pipes in the ground. And they just over time, I mean, they're getting to be about, how long they had sewer in Hernando, 50, 60, 70, 80 years? I don't know. I mean, I don't know when that was in, way before my time.
Way before I was born.
And so there's some leaks there, so there's water getting into the sewer system, which affects the DCRUA, so we use some ARPA money, go in there and smoke them up, find those leaks, and then repair those leaks. And the way they do it's pretty neat. They go in there with you may see it almost looks like a plastic material. They go in there and coat the pipe with it to keep it from leaking. And so they did it all over the downtown area. Okay. And this is the last payment of that. I think we spent $250,000, which was ARPA money, so I think that was matched by the state.
I was just curious what that was.
And that was the last payment of it. And I think the gentleman said that, I don't know when the mic was on or off, but he's going to come back with a presentation to show how much savings that's going to be, what they did, where they fixed different areas. I know they did a lot in my ward, a lot of Andrew's ward. Saw some improvement there. Okay. And Andrew held up the payment because there was some issue with one of the areas they had to dig up, and they didn't pack it good enough, and it eroded away.
Okay, because you or Bruce asked the question, because Andrew wasn't there. One of y'all asked, "Is Andrew satisfied with what's been done now?"
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that he held that up with I think the guy mentioned we had initially done this, put it up for payment. I think back in May or June, and he wanted to make sure they fixed that before we released the money to pay them. So.
Gotcha. And then that was it for the meeting, except for y'all had an executive session for litigation that could be happening, and I guess you are not allowed to talk about that right now. But
yeah, I can't talk about what was spoken in executive session. I will say it's something very minor, nothing serious.
Okay. So. Well, I just noticed that on the agenda and was like, huh. And I assumed it was based on this other stuff you've been seeing over social media with the. I guess she used to be a DeSoto County police officer, but
I've had some talk about that. This is not related to that at all.
Okay, so, I was curious about that.
I don't know anything about that, but that's.
I understand. No, silence is the word from Chad on
well,
this one.
You see all kinds of things on social media. Obviously we have the event going on the Mississippi Gulf Coast where I think the gentleman went missing and then died or whatever, and I think a lot of that is being put out there. It's not really true information. So I think sometimes it's best just to wait and see, let the facts come out.
You've even had some national news in Mississippi over that one. Brandon Tatum, who does a big national podcast, he was in Mississippi.
It's not as big as ours.
Yeah, or we're up to like 1,400 people now. So, but that's all I've got for this. Except I will say I have heard a rumor.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to confirm it, not confirm it.
Okay.
I know there was some talk of a new grocery store that was going to go in the Nesbitt area right there. where the old Jimmy Gray place used to be, and I know there were some issues with that. But I've heard they may have found a new location possibly in the Hernando area.
I can't confirm nor deny. I just say that the Goodwill store on Commerce is going to go away.
So Goodwill will be leaving Hernando, the one on Commerce, and there is a possibility, at least what I've heard through the real estate vine, is that there could be a grocery store coming there that will make my wife very happy.
And they only sell one brand.
And you pay a quarter for your shopping cart, but you get it back when you're finished.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
You give them a quarter, and then you get your quarter back when you return the shopping cart.
But that's not. That's just rumor at this point.
I've heard it very strongly, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. You know, I was the one back in the day that decided one night just to start some stuff and posted about us getting a Buffalo Wild Wings on Hernando Happenings and went to bed.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't remember, but I posted it and went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and was like, holy smokes, I have started a firestorm.
They didn't know it was a Buffalo Wings to go, did they?
I didn't either at the time. And I was like, wow, okay. And by the way, Buffalo Wild Wings is now the new field sponsor for Ole Miss football.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they signed that deal this week. So,
well, big deal.
Dropping a little news for those of y'all that don't know it. And but that's all I've got for this episode, and we'll be back here in a couple of weeks.
I'm going to be out of town, so we'll be back, I guess, first week of August. We have a meeting, I think, August 2nd, so
all right,
I think that's right.
That's it. This is the Roundabout Roundup. I'm Brian Couch, and I'm here with Chad Wicker, and we'll see you next time.
All right.